Hello, my name is Eric Little, and I would first like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be here and speak to you this morning. I've been asked to present to you today about my views concerning the existing Brady Law and amendments that I believe need to take place concerning that law in order to truly address the growing concern and discussions of gun control here in the United States. One does not have to look very far in today's headlines to find stories concerning gun violence and the overwhelming anxiety that our nation feels in regards to the need for gun control. There have been several mass shootings at schools in the last couple of years alone that have more than raised the question, how do we fix this problem? That question, in and of itself, opens up so many heated discussions among the people that fall on both sides of this argument. To some people, the only answer is to ban guns, as if to say the gun is the problem. For others, the only answer you get is, it's not a gun problem, it's a people problem. Today, I would like to lay out a plan for consideration that I feel like would address both sides of the equation. In a recent conversation with Russell Little, the owner of Outdoor Products Plus, we discussed the gun violence that has rocked our country over the past several years, and he had some very interesting opinions about the solution. Outdoor Products Plus is a business that sells shooting targets, range bags, and other accessories for guns or gun-related items, so Little has a great deal of experience working in the environment that seems to be at the center of gun discussions, the local gun shows. Little stated that immediately following a mass shooting like we have recently seen, the business in a gun show triples, if not more. There's so much paranoia surrounding the fear of rights of gun owners either being reduced or taken away altogether that people flock to the gun shows to stock up before the government ruins it for everyone. As we began to discuss how one would purchase a firearm at the gun show, Little explained the very simple process to me. First, if you see a gun that is on a vendor's table and you would like to purchase it, you can engage in a friendly banter of negotiating for the best price on the firearm. After reaching the agreed upon price, the vendor would grab an application form for you to fill out with all of your pertinent information, which would then be entered into their laptop on site, and within a few minutes you would have an answer of approved or not approved as it pertains to the federal background check. This is a process that we can thank the people who passed the Brady Bill in 1993 for. According to ATF.gov, the Brady Bill was originated as a result of the shooting of James Brady, who was shot during an assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan in 1981. At the time that this bill was passed, technology and other factors made the Brady Bill a very frustrating thing for the people in the gun show industry, as well as for the purchaser. According to ATF.gov, the original Brady Bill stated that there was a mandatory 5-day waiting period before a licensed gun dealer could sell, trade, or transfer a firearm to an unlicensed individual. This was to allow for the proper and necessary time that it took to conduct a full, extensive background check. Over time, as technology has advanced, it now only takes a few minutes for the background check to be completed, and the person can leave with their firearm in the same day. To me, this is a pretty secure way for the largest venue of gun sales in the United States and purchases to ensure that the gun doesn't get sold to a person that should not be carrying a weapon, right? Wrong. Little went on to explain to me that the real problem, however, is not concerning the licensed dealers that work these shows. Here is an example of the larger problem. I'm a legal resident of Texas, and I own several firearms. I am not licensed to sell a firearm in Texas as a dealer. However, I am fully within my rights to sell to another individual and am not required to process a background check or any other type of paperwork or registry of this firearm transaction. And to go a step further, I can go to a gun show with my own personal weapons, check it in at the front table with local law enforcement to ensure the safety of people attending the gun show, and then proceed inside with a sign on my gun stating that it is for sale. Then anyone in the gun show that is interested in buying my gun can do so, and it is perfectly legal. Here are the downsides of this being allowed to happen. First off, A good law-abiding citizen, such as myself, can unknowingly sell a firearm to someone that clearly should not or could not purchase a firearm. And so they purchase it from an individual to avoid going through a licensed dealer that would be required to run a background check. I completely feel like the majority of weapons that end up in the hands of criminals that intend to harm do so in this manner. According to BradyCampaign.org, it is estimated that a little over 40% of all firearm transactions in the United States are done so without completing a Brady background check. To say that this is dangerous is an understatement. Another problem with this process is the fact that the seller is still attached to the serial number of that weapon. When I purchased my pistol, I went through the Brady background check. Once the transaction was complete, my information is linked to the serial number of my pistol, and this is done for various reasons. If someone steals my pistol and pawns it somewhere, then that gun automatically can be connected back to me once the pawn shop enters in the data. However, I feel like maybe the more important reason for this is so if there is ever a crime and the gun is disposed of, it can be linked back to the perpetrator of the crime. So if I sold the gun to another unlicensed individual, then it is still registered with the government in my name. So someone goes out and commits a heinous crime and then disposes of the weapon, and that weapon is found, you guessed it, eventually there will be police knocking on my door. So how can we fix this? What I would like to introduce to you would be an amendment to the Brady Bill. I would like to see the federal government make the website for federal background checks a public and free website, or at least a minimal fee based on the amount of the sale of the gun, and make it mandatory to use if you want to legally sell guns as an individual, so that anyone who is wanting to sell or trade a firearm would be able to do so in a legal manner. There are a couple of upsides to this process. First, and by far the most important, it would force criminals and people with ill intention to go elsewhere to buy their firearms because it wouldn't be possible for them to purchase them legally. Now, I know that this doesn't keep hands out of the hands of criminals, but I do believe that this would put a major dampener on how they get them and therefore how they are used. Secondly, this process would then allow the seller to transfer the ownership of this weapon to another person, and thus removing their link to the firearm in the future. Doing this maintains everyone's rights to purchase and sell guns as we have enjoyed for a very long time. But it does make it where everyone has to play by the same rules and regulations as what has been put into place for public safety. In closing, I would just like to say I fully understand that there are no perfect solutions to deal with gun violence and gun problems altogether. If we banned guns, people that would want to do harm would still go out and find them. However, if we ignore the problem, then we are turning a blind eye to all of the legal loopholes and thus making it an easy path for this problem to continue. But by amending the Brady Law and making it possible and required for all individuals who sell and trade firearms to go through the same security system that our government requires licensed dealers to go through, then we can and will start to see a marked reduction in the amount of firearms that make it into the hands of criminals. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope and pray that you will consider passing the amendment that has been proposed here this morning.